Nor was this billboard unique. Surveying New York's expansive billboard menagerie, an advertising manager for the American Tobacco Company boasted that he had just driven by 72 of the 127 oversized 30-sheet posters located in Manhattan, Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn. This extensive coverage meant that American Tobacco's competitive position in New York is good, but he bemoaned that R.J. Reynolds, an arch competitor, was using almost all of their out-of-home media to introduce a new menthol brand, more cigarettes. The effect is overwhelming. Unknown to me, these images, with their waterfall motifs and cooling messages, had arrived in my neighborhood after careful deliberations, extensive testing, and outreach to Black civic groups and communities. Efforts crafted by Madison Avenue firms, psychographic consulting groups from Chicago to Princeton, and tobacco executives from Richmond, Virginia, to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. In 1970s New York, all these pushers of cocaine, pot, quaaludes, and cigarettes stalked neighborhoods, but in different ways. Of course, I knew that smokers were also addicts, even if of a less threatening sort, hooked on a legal drug. I also knew that many New Yorkers worried about so many cigarette ads, seeing them as another dangerous drug push. Only a few years earlier, when I was 10, cigarette ads had been banned from the television and radio airwaves. City ordinances had been enacted to keep cigarette billboards away from schools. All this I knew well. What I was less aware of was how recently these billboard jungles had sprung up. They multiplied quickly in the aftermath of the 1970 TV and radio ban as part of the tobacco industry's push to make up for the loss of national media channels, saturating urban markets closer to the points of purchase. But why my neighborhood? And why menthols? From scanning Ebony and Jet magazines, Black-themed periodicals I read at my grandparents' house in the Bronx, I knew that menthols were pushed as a Black thing. Ebony, which in 1972 questioned whether the rash of new Black-themed movies like Superfly, Cotton Comes to Harlem, and Shaft were culture or con game, also ran ads for all the major menthol brands. The Newport ads were particularly striking, with their menthol kings making a direct appeal to togetherness, amusement, and Black identity. After all, asked Newport, if smoking isn't a pleasure, why bother? At the time, I could not have known how the tobacco industry targeted Ebony, or how the magazine participated in the push to connect Black smokers to menthols in exchange for much-needed advertising revenue. Nor could I have known that this intense drive toward racial advertising was only in its adolescence. The push was no older than me. I had no inkling that the billboard hovering over Woodhaven and the ads in Ebony were the product of something larger, the web of relentless, enterprising executives, researchers, and marketers who invited would-be consumers to see ourselves in a new light. These marketers studied not only the flow of people in the city, but also human behavior and racial group identity. The social researchers tracked changing habits in neighborhoods like mine. The ad men shaped the therapeutic, calming imagery of More, as well as the other prominent brands of Kool and Salem. And myriad other consultants closely evaluated the effects of these messages on viewers' preferences, brand choices, and sales. Nor did I understand how Black media outlets, civic organizations like the NAACP, politicians, and urban leaders, including some of the politicians whom I admired, channeled these messages, while also relying on Big Tobacco's economic support for their enterprises. All were caught in the web that cigarette companies, and menthol makers in particular, had spun. Looking back now, I see that my youth coincided with a particular chapter in menthol smoking's racial history, an era defined by blaxploitation not only in film, but also in tobacco marketing. It was an era in which menthol sales reached